Hello and welcome to Everyday Lessons Every Day. I'm David McBee. Based on my book by the same name, this podcast is for those of us who believe in personal growth and want to improve every day. This is episode 7, Self-Doubt. Yesterday was a hard day. I started my Saturday with 3 books in my hand, trying to decide which lesson would be the topic of this podcast, but nothing was jumping off the pages. Don't get me wrong, there were some good lessons. There were actually a lot of good lessons, but none of them were inspiring me. The wisdom was there, but the relevance to my life wasn't. So I sat there, thumbing through the pages, rereading old chapters, struggling through my writer's block. My daughter asked me what I was doing, and I told her. Then she asked me if I had any regrets about writing my book. I know why she asked. I've been talking about how difficult it's been to get 50 reviews on Amazon. That's the magic number where Amazon will start recommending my book to future readers. So I'm frustrated with that, but I'm also frustrated with the book sales. I know that being independently published, all the promotion falls on me. And with a full-time job and a second book project distracting me, I haven't had a lot of time for that. I shared my frustrations with her, but I also told her that I didn't regret writing the book because it had changed me for the better. I told her that I was proud that I went on my journey from grumpy to grateful and asked her if she was happy that I had changed as well. She said in an offhanded, amused tone, "I don't know, Dad. Sometimes it feels like you didn't even write the book." Well, that hit me like a truck. It may have been the most hurtful thing she could have said, especially in that moment when I was feeling a great deal of frustration and self-doubt. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that I often do regret writing the book. Don't get me wrong, the journey was vital. I needed to change in order to save my relationships with my family. But why did I have to turn it into a book and publish it? Who wants to hear about me going through my crap? I'm no one special. I'm just some guy from the suburbs who has grand dreams of changing the world, but probably never will. See what I mean? Tons of self-doubt running through my head. But what Zoe said kind of broke my heart. After all, she was one of the people who inspired me to change in the first place. Wanting to be closer to her is why I've read nearly a dozen books on parenting teens over the past several months. So for her to say that I haven't changed, well, that stung. She knew she had hurt me too. She immediately backtracked her statement and claimed that she felt that way because we're locked up in quarantine and I've been on her case a lot and all of that is true, actually. I finally got sick of her binge watching The Kardashians and episodes of The Office that I know she's seen 1,000,003 times. So I gave her exercise goals and I took a page out of Bobby Bones' new book, Fight, Grind, Repeat, and I told her that I wanted her reading a chapter from a positive book for every episode of TV that she watched. I won't tell you how many times I've had to ask her to put her Invisalign in and gotten the response, "But I'm drinking blue Kool-Aid right now." So yeah, there has been some tension between us. But for her to say that it's like I never wrote the book, the implication being that I hadn't changed at all, well, that did hurt. That hurt a lot. I sat there in silence thinking. I immediately came up with 3 responses that proved I had changed, but I didn't say them out loud. That in itself is evidence of the change, actually. The old me would have defended myself and proven her wrong, but I just sat there quietly and thought about it. I tried to see it from her point of view. I was on her case a lot lately. I did lose my temper, and I did have moments that would probably disappoint the author of Everyday Lessons Every Day. Who did I think I was? Who was I to write a self-improvement book when my own daughter thought so little of me? Why should I bother taking the time to create a weekly podcast? Who cares? Who's listening anyway? Why waste my time? I'm giving a presentation to a group of professionals next week called 4 Lessons for Better Work-Life Relationships. Meanwhile, I apparently am failing with my own daughter. It makes me feel like a total fraud. Look at me. I'm David McBee. I'm the author of a self-improvement book. I'm a public speaker and a podcaster. It sounds great, but in reality, I just don't know. Am I fooling myself? Can I really make a difference? Am I a complete fraud? All of this ran through my head in the minutes following Zoe's comment. I simply couldn't resolve it in that moment, so I did my best to shake it off and go about my day. Later, I was mowing the lawn and listening to a new book. Anna Kendrick's book, Scrappy Little Nobody, is not a book I chose for inspiration. I just kind of like her and figured it would be fun distraction from my sadness. But as I've shared with you in the past, everyday lessons can sneak up on you from the most unexpected places. And that's exactly what happened. Somehow, Anna went from talking about shoplifting and underage club hopping in LA to a statement that made me stop in my tracks. She said, "I think self-doubt is healthy, and having to fight for the thing you want doesn't mean you deserve it any less." Can you believe that? Did I just hear exactly the lesson that I needed to hear? Was the universe telling me that self-doubt is a part of the process? I don't know, but it sure felt like that. In fact, it was such a powerful moment that it was like a light switch had turned on in my head and in my heart. I suddenly didn't feel so hurt by Zoe's statement. I saw it for what it was, a teenager complaining about a parent doing what parents do. In fact, later, we went for a ride and I asked her outright, "Can you not think of any situation where I've acted differently from the person I was before my book?" She was able to quickly rattle off several things I had done in the last 2 days where I had chosen patience and tolerance over anger and yelling. She did see it after all. It was just a flippant remark and I was overly sensitive. Yes, I was feeling a lot of self-doubt and she hit me below the belt when I wasn't looking. But it wasn't the blow that I had made it out to be. I'm certainly not perfect. My journey of self-improvement has its ups and downs, but the fact that I am still on the journey, that I haven't quit trying to be a better version of myself, well, that's the win. If sharing my stories, hoping that I change the world in the process, doesn't come to fruition, well, that's okay. At least I'm changing me. And so I challenge you. If you're feeling some self-doubt about achieving your goals and dreams, remember what Anna Kendrick says. Self-doubt is healthy, and having to fight for the thing you want doesn't mean you deserve it any less. If you need to, write a note on your wrist to remind you that self-doubt is a part of the process, that it's perfectly natural to wonder if you deserve the thing you are reaching for. And then hear my voice telling you that yes, you do deserve it. Let me know what happens when you implement this lesson. I'll see you next time. Now go out there and do something awesome.